Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to talk to you today about um, Grace Gao, do a tribute video to her. She recently was on the YouTube channel China Uncensored, and she is the daughter of Chinese human rights lawyer Gao Zhiseng. Okay, and Shelley Zhang from China Uncensored went to interview Grace Gao, and this was thanks to the Oslo Freedom Forum, who put China Uncensored in touch with Grace Gao. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, Grace Gao, her father, as I pointed out, her father, Grace Gao's father, is Gao Zhiseng. Okay, and he was one of the best lawyers in China. He was renowned. He was making a lot of money. He was doing very well until he started taking human rights cases and taking cases of persecuted Christians in China, taking cases of people who spoke out against the government, taking cases of people who spoke out against communism. If these people were arrested or beaten to death or whatever, he would take their case because he didn't like what was going on with the human rights violations. So he quickly, the Chinese government shut down his law office. And while they did not kill him, they didn't do life in prison for him. They put him in jail temporarily, and they tortured him in jail. The daughter said she could see the scars on her dad's leg after he got out of jail. Well, when he was in jail, 8 Chinese secret agents lived in her family's apartment, and this is when Grace Gao was 14. And they would never, they were always watching her and her brother and her mother. Grace was 14 years old at the time, but she couldn't even take a shower without with the Chinese agent going in there watching her, which is very sick, sadistic, and perverted. If you ask me, that is a perverted thing to be doing. And it would be written down in the logbook. She took a shower, or whatever she ate for breakfast, whatever she did. And she was forbidden to go to school for the longest time. Now, when Gao Zhiseng was released from prison, she was able to go to school again, but the secret agents followed her, and if her classmates tried to talk to her or befriend her, the classmates wouldn't go to jail, but the parents would go to jail. The classmates' parents would go to jail. So what had happened was, and when Gao Zhiseng got released from prison, the agents moved out of the apartment, but while he was in prison, there were 30 to 40 agents outside of the apartment. And the number of Chinese police agents outside of the apartment in that general community, they increased after he was released from prison. So eventually it got so bad that Gao Zhiseng sent his wife and kids to America. And now Gao Zhiseng stayed in China because he believes that he needs to fight for the Chinese people, that China's his country, and that it's not the country of China, it's the Chinese government, which I believe that to be true. But the last time she talked to her father was a year ago, and they would keep in contact with her father as much as possible when they got to America. But they also, this was one of the first interviews she did. They try, her mother and her brother try to keep a low profile as best as possible. Because they will still get because her father will still get threats from the Chinese government or the contacts he has inside the Chinese government that don't agree with what their bosses are doing. They'll say things like, well, we know where your family is. Your family's poor in America. Things like that. Now, while that may or may not be true, that's why they keep a low profile. And they try not to talk Chinese politics with anybody as best as possible because this was an exception to the rule with this interview. The family in America tries not to talk Chinese politics with anybody because they don't know who they're talking to. That person could be a secret agent, person could be a spy. They just don't know. So, anyways, thumbs up to Grace Gao for doing this interview, though. Thanks to Shelley Zhang and all of China Uncensored, particularly its host, Chris Chappell, for doing this, and thanks to the Oslo Freedom Forum for allowing this interview to take place and being the main setup of this interview. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care. God bless them. Bye-bye.